Life has a way of throwing curveballs, doesn't it? One moment, everything seems to be in order, and the next, you're faced with challenges that feel completely out of your control. It's in these moments of unfairness when plans fall apart, people disappoint us, or setbacks seem relentless, that we often find ourselves asking, "Why me?" But what if there's a different way to look at these struggles, a way to reclaim your peace even when life feels anything but fair? Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most revered Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." These words hold a timeless truth. While we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. And in today's video, we're going to explore how Stoicism, a philosophy over 2,000 years old, offers practical tools to help us navigate life's toughest challenges. Together, we'll uncover how shifting your perspective, building resilience, and embracing acceptance can not only help you stay grounded, but also transform how you face life's uncertainties. By the end, you'll see how moments of unfairness can become opportunities for growth and strength. Let's dive in. What does it really mean for life to be unfair? Think about it for a moment. When we say something isn't fair, what we're really doing is comparing what's happened to us against what we think should have happened. And here's the key: that sense of should comes entirely from our own expectations. This idea isn't new, it's deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. Epictetus, a Stoic teacher who lived nearly 2,000 years ago, said, "It isn't the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." In other words, it's not the situation that causes us pain, but how we interpret it. Let's break that down. Imagine you've been working hard at your job, staying late, going above and beyond, and you're confident you'll be promoted. But when the announcement comes, the promotion goes to someone else. You feel devastated, frustrated, maybe even angry. It's easy to say, "This is unfair." But what's really driving that feeling? The situation itself, or the expectation that your hard work would guarantee a specific outcome? From a Stoic perspective, moments like these are an opportunity to examine your perceptions. The event, the promotion going to someone else, is neutral. It's just a series of actions and decisions that played out. What gives it meaning and what creates your emotional response is how you interpret it. If you believe, "I deserved that promotion and it's unfair that I didn't get it," then of course you'll feel upset. But the Stoics invite us to step back and question those thoughts. What if the promotion wasn't meant to be a reward for effort, but simply a decision based on factors you couldn't control? What if your value as an employee and as a person isn't diminished just because someone else was chosen? By reframing the situation this way, you're not denying your hard work or pretending the outcome wasn't disappointing. Instead, you're choosing to let go of an unhelpful expectation. The belief that life should always work out in a certain way, and focusing on what's within your control. You can't dictate who gets promoted, but you can decide how you show up for work the next day, how you treat yourself, and what lessons you take from the experience. This shift in thinking is powerful because it puts the responsibility for your emotional well-being back in your own hands. You're no longer at the mercy of circumstances or other people's actions. You're reclaiming control by changing how you view the situation. So let me ask you, what expectations of fairness do you hold onto that might be causing you stress? Maybe it's in your relationships, your career, or even the way you think life is supposed to unfold. Take a moment to reflect. Could adjusting those expectations, letting go of the belief that life owes you anything, help you find more peace? This isn't about ignoring injustice or pretending problems don't exist. It's about recognizing that clinging to rigid ideas of fairness often does more to harm us than heal us. Once you start rethinking fairness in this way, you'll begin to notice how many of your frustrations stem not from what's happening, but from what you believe shouldn't be happening. And when you can adjust your mindset, you'll find that life's challenges, while still difficult, don't have to feel so overwhelming. Picture this: you're stuck in traffic on your way to an important meeting. Cars aren't moving, the clock is ticking, and every passing minute feels like a missed opportunity. Frustration starts bubbling up. You might be thinking, why is this happening now? Why can't the road just clear up? It's a familiar scenario, isn't it? Moments like these make us feel completely powerless. But what if I told you that this feeling of powerlessness is often rooted in focusing on the wrong things? According to the Stoics, it's not the traffic or any external event that's upsetting you. It's where your attention goes to factors completely outside your control. This brings us to one of the most essential principles of Stoicism, taught by Epictetus in his Enchiridion*. Some things are up to us and some things are not. This timeless piece of wisdom reminds us to focus only on what is within our control: our thoughts, our choices, and our reactions. Everything else, traffic, other people's actions, or even the weather, falls outside that sphere of influence. When we spend energy trying to wrestle control over these external factors, it's like trying to stop a river with our bare hands. It's exhausting, ineffective, and ultimately leaves us feeling worse. So how do you apply this principle in frustrating moments? Start by taking a breath and asking yourself this simple question: what's in my control right now? Let's go back to the traffic scenario. You can't magically make the road clear or the cars speed up. That's out of your hands. But what can you control? You can choose how you think about the situation. Maybe being stuck in traffic gives you a rare moment to pause, reflect, or even listen to an audiobook you've been meaning to finish. You can decide how you'll handle being late, whether by calmly explaining to your colleagues what happened or by rescheduling and moving forward with grace. These are choices within your power. A practical way to reinforce this mindset is to create a mental or even physical list when frustrations arise. Write down the things you can control on one side of the page and the things you cannot on the other. For example, if a flight gets cancelled, you can't control the weather or the airline's policies, but you can control what you do next. Rebook your flight, find alternate transportation, or focus on using the extra downtime productively. This simple exercise helps shift your perspective, making it easier to let go of what's beyond your reach and focus your energy where it matters. Here's something to think about. How often do you waste time and emotional energy dwelling on things outside your control? Whether it's someone else's opinion of you, a missed opportunity, or an unexpected setback, ask yourself if your frustration is rooted in trying to change the unchangeable. Imagine how much lighter you'd feel if you redirected that energy toward things you can influence: your attitude, your next step, and your ability to grow from the experience. The truth is, we're often so caught up in reacting to external events that we forget the power we do have over our own minds, and this is where the Stoics shine. They remind us that peace isn't about controlling the world around us, it's about mastering the world within. The next time you're faced with a situation that feels unfair or frustrating, pause, reflect, and ask yourself, where am I placing my energy right now? And is it helping me move forward? By focusing on what you can control, you reclaim your power, and with it, a sense of calm that no external circumstance can take away. Sometimes life's unfairness feels insurmountable because we resist what is happening. We get caught up in the why or the what if, or why did this happen to me? What could I have done differently? What will happen now? This resistance is natural, but it can also make an already difficult situation so much harder to bear. The Stoics understood this human tendency and offered a powerful antidote, the practice of acceptance. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, put it beautifully when he said, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny for what could more aptly fit your needs." At first, the idea of acceptance might sound like giving up, but in reality, acceptance is not passive resignation. It's an act of strength. When the Stoics talked about accepting reality, they weren't suggesting that you allow yourself to be walked over or that you stop striving to improve your situation. Instead, they were teaching us to stop wasting energy fighting against things we cannot change. By doing so, we free up our mental and emotional resources to focus on what is within our control, our actions, our mindset, and our next steps. Let's consider a personal challenge, something many people experience, like rejection. Imagine pouring your heart into a job application or a relationship only to be told no. The news hits hard. Rejection can feel deeply personal, as though it says something fundamental about your worth or abilities. In that moment, it's tempting to resist reality, to replay the situation endlessly in your mind. If only I had done this, you might think, or why didn't they choose me? But these thoughts, while understandable, keep you stuck. They don't change the outcome, they just amplify the pain. Now imagine approaching this moment through the lens of acceptance. The rejection has already happened, it's a fact. You can't go back and undo it, but you can decide how you move forward. Acceptance allows you to acknowledge the situation as it is, without adding layers of judgment or resistance. It might sound like this: "This outcome wasn't what I hoped for, but it's part of my reality now. I will allow it to be, rather than fighting against it." From this place of acceptance, you create space to reflect calmly on the next step, whether that's applying for a new opportunity, reevaluating your goals, or simply giving yourself time to heal. Acceptance also plays a crucial role in facing more profound challenges, like illness or loss. We often hear stories of individuals diagnosed with serious illnesses who find peace not by denying their diagnosis, but by embracing reality as it is and focusing on how they can live meaningfully within it. This isn't about giving up or refusing treatment, it's about letting go of the "why me" mindset and instead asking, "What can I do with the time and energy I have?" Here's the thing: when you resist reality, it doesn't change the situation, it only deepens your suffering. But when you accept the present moment as it is, you release the grip of frustration and allow yourself to move forward. Ask yourself this: how many times have you been stuck in anger or sadness, replaying events you couldn't control? And how might your life feel different if you practiced saying, "This is what happened. Now, what can I do next?" Acceptance isn't about liking what's happened or pretending it's easy. It's about finding peace by aligning yourself with reality. When you embrace life as it unfolds, you also embrace your ability to respond with clarity and purpose. So the next time you're faced with a situation that feels unfair, pause and ask yourself, how can I accept this moment for what it is, and how can that acceptance help me move forward? You might find that what once felt like insurmountable unfairness becomes a stepping stone toward greater inner strength and resilience. It's easy to look at obstacles in life as roadblocks, moments that halt our progress, derail our plans, or leave us feeling stuck. But the Stoics saw them differently. To them, obstacles weren't barriers, they were opportunities in disguise. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." His words challenge us to reframe the way we think about struggles. Instead of seeing them as things to avoid, we can embrace them as tools for growth, transformation, and strength. This perspective is beautifully encapsulated in the Stoic concept of Amor Fati, which means love of fate. It's the idea that we should not simply accept everything that happens to us, but actually embrace it as necessary and even beneficial for our journey. So, how exactly does this work in practice? Let's consider an example. Imagine someone starts a business with high hopes and pours their heart and soul into it, only to have it fail within a year. For many, this might feel like an insurmountable disappointment, one that sparks thoughts of self-doubt and regret. But a Stoic perspective would urge them to pause and ask, what can I learn from this? How can this experience make me better? Maybe the failed business revealed weak points in their planning that they can address next time. Perhaps it taught them resilience, resourcefulness, or how to handle rejection. The failure, as painful as it was, became a teacher, something that ultimately helped them grow stronger and wiser. This doesn't mean ignoring the pain or pretending the failure didn't happen. Loving your fate doesn't mean loving only the pleasant parts of life. It means facing even the hardships with gratitude, knowing they're shaping you into a more capable person. These moments give you a chance to build something enduring, the kind of character that thrives not in spite of challenges, but because of them. So, how do you begin to turn your obstacles into opportunities? One powerful tool is reflection. When things go wrong, take time to journal about the experience. Write down exactly what happened, how you felt, and most importantly, what you can take away from the situation. Did the challenge reveal a weakness you can work on? Did it push you to think creatively or to rely on strength you didn't know you had? Reflecting like this transforms a setback into a source of insight, allowing you to approach the future with greater clarity. Another practical step is to shift your focus toward action. When you hit a roadblock, instead of dwelling on what went wrong, ask yourself, what can I do next? Create a plan, even a small one, that moves you forward. For example, if you lost a job, this might mean reaching out to expand your network, taking time to upgrade your skills, or thinking about what career path would truly fulfill you. Every small action chips away at the obstacle and turns it into a stepping stone. And here's something to keep in mind. Sometimes the benefits of a setback aren't immediately clear. You might not see the lesson right away, and that's okay. Over time, though, many of those struggles reveal themselves as pivotal moments, turning points that led you to a better path, even if it wasn't the one you originally had in mind. Take a moment to think about your own life. What recent obstacle have you faced something that felt overwhelming or unfair? Now ask yourself, could this challenge hold a lesson or even an opportunity that you haven't seen yet? How might you reframe it as something that's not just happening *to you, but *you? When you start to view life through the lens of Amor Fati, every difficulty becomes a chance to grow, to learn, and to strengthen the person you're becoming. What once seemed like a dead end may just be the beginning of a new and better path forward. Let's talk about resilience, the ability to endure, to adapt, and to keep moving forward when life feels overwhelming. The Stoics saw resilience not as something you're simply born with, but as a skill that can be cultivated by how you prepare your mind and approach life's challenges. A powerful example of Stoic resilience comes from Seneca, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, who faced incredible hardship when he was exiled from Rome. Imagine this, a man of great influence, stripped of his position, wealth, and reputation, sent to live in isolation on the island of Corsica. For many, this would feel like a devastating loss, an end to everything they had worked for. But Seneca didn't crumble. Instead, he used his exile as an opportunity to deepen his philosophical practice, reflect on the nature of adversity, and ultimately write some of his most profound works. What allowed Seneca to maintain his strength in such a situation? It wasn't that he was immune to suffering. He surely felt pain and disappointment, just as anyone would. But his resilience came from his mental preparation and his ability to focus on what remained within his control. He couldn't reverse his exile or restore his former life, but he could choose how to respond to it. He found meaning in his hardship, viewing it not as the end, but as a chance to grow and contribute to the world in new ways. This mindset is the essence of Stoic resilience, the ability to turn adversity into an opportunity for strength and wisdom. Now, let's bring this into the modern world. The challenges we face today may look different from Seneca's exile, but they can feel just as overwhelming. Maybe you're dealing with financial stress, struggling to make ends meet or fearing an uncertain future. Or perhaps it's a family conflict, something that weighs on your mind and heart, making it hard to move forward. In moments like these, it's easy to feel defeated, as though the situation is too much to bear. But the Stoics remind us that resilience is not about avoiding suffering, it's about finding a way to endure and grow through it. One of the key ways to build resilience is to prepare your mind for life's inevitable difficulties. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum or the premeditation of evils. It's a practice of imagining challenges before they happen, not to dwell on negativity, but to train your mind to handle life's unpredictability with composure. For example, you might visualize how you'd cope if you lost your job, what steps you'd take, how you'd adjust your perspective, and how you'd focus on opportunities for growth. This mental exercise doesn't make tough times easy, but it helps you face them with less fear and greater clarity when they do arise. Another cornerstone of resilience is gratitude for what remains, even amid hardship. The Stoics emphasize the importance of appreciating what you have instead of fixating on what you've lost. If you're facing financial stress, gratitude might look like focusing on the support of loved ones or the skills and experiences you still possess. If you're in the middle of a family dispute, it might mean cherishing the relationships that are still strong or the lessons that come from navigating conflict. Gratitude doesn't erase problems, but it shifts your perspective, reminding you that even in difficulty, there is still something to hold on to. So, how can you start building resilience today? Think about small habits you can incorporate into your daily life. Maybe it's journaling each morning to reflect on what you're grateful for, no matter how small. Or practicing premeditatio malorum by visualizing how you'd handle potential setbacks with patience and strength. Or perhaps it's as simple as pausing in a tough moment to remind yourself, this is hard, but I've faced challenges before and I will get through this too. Resilience doesn't mean you won't feel pain or struggle, but it gives you the tools to face those feelings in a way that strengthens you rather than breaking you down. So, what small step can you take today to start cultivating that inner strength? Whether it's a moment of gratitude, a calming reflection, or simply taking the next small step forward, these habits will prepare you to face life's trials with the grace and resilience of the Stoics who came before us. Imagine you're standing at the base of a mountain, looking at a boulder blocking your path. Up close, it seems massive, insurmountable. But now, picture yourself climbing to the mountain's peak and looking down. From this higher vantage point, that same boulder looks like nothing more than a tiny dot in the vast landscape below. It hasn't changed its size or weight, but your perspective has shifted. Suddenly, it feels smaller, more manageable. This is the power of perspective, and the Stoics believed it was one of the most effective tools for navigating life's challenges. Marcus Aurelius frequently reflected on the idea of zooming out to see the bigger picture. As Emperor of Rome, he faced immense pressures, wars, political strife, personal loss. Yet in his private writings, now known as Meditations, he reminds himself, observe how transient and trivial all mortal things are. Yesterday a drop of semen, tomorrow ashes or bones. Far from being morbid, this cosmic perspective helped Marcus detach from the emotional intensity of his struggles by placing them within the grand scale of existence. When viewed against the vastness of the universe and the fleeting nature of human life, even the most overwhelming problems begin to feel less significant. This doesn't mean dismissing or minimizing our struggles. After all, problems can feel deeply personal and heavy when we're in the middle of them. But the Stoics teach us that by stepping back, by mentally zooming out, we can see those struggles for what they really are, temporary and often smaller than they appear in the moment. Let's try applying this idea to a practical exercise. Think about a challenge you're currently facing, something that's been weighing on your mind. Now, imagine you're advising a close friend who's dealing with this same problem. What would you say to them? Would you see their situation as hopeless, or would you likely point out aspects they might not be considering, like the ways they've persevered through difficulty before, or how this issue may not matter as much a year or even a month from now? Writing about your problem as if you were guiding someone else can help you distance yourself from the raw emotions tied to it and view it with greater clarity and logic. Here's another way to practice zooming out. Visualize your life as part of something much larger. Picture yourself within the context of human history, one of billions of people, each with their own challenges, joys, and struggles. Now picture the Earth, a small dot in a massive galaxy. In this cosmic view, how does your issue feel? It's not about ignoring the problem, but understanding its place in the broader scope of life. This perspective can help lighten the emotional weight, giving you the calm and focus you need to work toward a solution. For example, let's say you're dealing with a conflict at work. Maybe a colleague treated you unfairly and it's consuming your thoughts. Step back and consider how this single moment fits into the larger arc of your career. Will it matter a year from now, 5 years, 10? Then expand your perspective even further. How does this situation compare to the challenges you've already overcome in life or the countless stories of resilience throughout history? Sometimes the very act of zooming out reveals that what feels monumental today may eventually be just another passing chapter in your story. Now, let me ask you, how would your current problem change if you viewed it from a higher perspective? What if you looked at it not from the eye of the storm, but from the calm, distant vantage point of a mountain peak? Shifting your perspective won't make your problems vanish, but it can make them feel less overwhelming, leaving you with the clarity and emotional balance to face them head-on. So the next time life throws a boulder in your path, ask yourself, is it as big as it feels right now, or is it just another dot on the landscape of your life? That simple shift might be the first step toward finding your way forward. Imagine this: you've just finished presenting a project at work, a project you poured hours into, paying attention to every detail. But instead of hearing constructive feedback, a colleague criticizes your efforts harshly in front of the entire team. You feel your chest tighten, your face flush, and thoughts start racing. Was my work really that bad? Did I mess up? Why would they say that? In moments like these, it's easy to internalize someone else's words, letting them chip away at your confidence. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could respond with calm, clarity, and strength instead of letting their opinion define your worth? Stoicism offers us a powerful perspective here, one that can help us stop taking things personally. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, taught that the actions and opinions of others are reflections of their character, not ours. He said, if someone speaks ill of you, don't make excuses. Instead, respond, you don't know me very well, or else you would have mentioned even worse faults. At first, this might sound surprising. Why would anyone embrace criticism? But Epictetus is showing us that other people's words and actions don't have to harm us unless we allow them to. Their behavior is a product of their perspective, their emotions, and their values, not a true measure of our worth. Let's return to the scenario at work. Your colleagues' harsh words may have more to do with their own frustrations, insecurities, or misunderstandings than with the quality of your work. Perhaps they felt overlooked for the project and lashed out, or maybe they're going through their own personal struggles that caused them to speak carelessly. Whatever the reason, Stoicism encourages us to pause and remind ourselves that their criticism is not a mirror of who we are, it's a window into their state of mind. By shifting your perspective in this way, you can prevent their words from taking root in your sense of self. So, how do you put this teaching into action? First, practice pausing before reacting. When someone's words sting, your instinct may be to defend yourself, get angry, or shut down. Instead, take a deep breath and give yourself a moment. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace of mind? Does their opinion change who I truly am? Most of the time, the answer is no. Pausing creates space for a more thoughtful response, one that aligns with your values rather than their behavior. Next, try to consider their perspective. This doesn't mean justifying bad behavior, but it can help you approach the situation with understanding instead of resentment. You might think, what could be driving their actions? Are they having a bad day? Do they feel threatened or misunderstood? Shifting your focus from yourself to the other person can soften the emotional impact and remind you that their words are more about them than you. Finally, remind yourself of your own values and worth. The Stoics believed that our true character comes from within, not from the opinions of others. Think about what you know to be true about yourself. Maybe you're diligent, kind, and hardworking, and one person's criticism doesn't erase those qualities. By anchoring yourself in your own self-respect, you can weather harsh words without letting them shake your foundation. Now take a moment to reflect. How often do you react as if someone else's opinion defines your worth? Think about the last time someone criticized or dismissed you. Did you allow their words to linger in your mind, questioning yourself because of what they said? What would have changed if instead you remembered Epictetus' teaching and chose not to take it personally? When you stop internalizing the behavior of others, you gain freedom from the emotional weight of their words and freedom to remain grounded in who you truly are. The next time you face unfair criticism or negative comments, step back, pause, and remind yourself, their actions are a reflection of them, not of you. This shift in perspective can make all the difference, giving you the peace and strength to move forward with clarity and confidence. What if you could prepare for life's unfairness by rehearsing it mentally? It might sound counterintuitive after all. Who wants to imagine worst-case scenarios? But the Stoics believed this practice, called negative visualization, is one of the most powerful tools for developing resilience, gratitude, and peace of mind. Seneca, the famous Roman philosopher, encouraged this approach, advising us to anticipate misfortune as a way to lessen its impact. He wrote, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." So, how does it work? Negative visualization isn't about dwelling on doom or catastrophizing your life. It's about imagining potential challenges or losses in a calm and deliberate way, so they don't catch you off guard if they ever occur. By rehearsing these scenarios in your mind, you reduce the fear of the unknown and make yourself mentally stronger to face whatever comes. It's a way of reminding yourself, I can handle this no matter what. Let's put this into perspective with an example. Imagine you're worried about losing your job, a fear many people face. Instead of letting that worry linger in the back of your mind, clouding your thoughts with anxiety, take a few moments to visualize it fully. Picture what would happen if you did lose your job. How would you feel in the moment? What steps would you take next? Maybe you'd update your resume, start networking, or explore other career paths. Imagine the practical actions you'd take and how you'd navigate the situation. This exercise doesn't make the possibility of job loss desirable, but it helps you realize that while it would be difficult, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You'd adapt as you've adapted to challenges before. What's remarkable about negative visualization is how it often shifts your perspective in two ways. First, it helps you feel prepared. By visualizing a challenge, you've already faced it in your mind, making it less intimidating in reality. And second, it fosters gratitude for what you have right now. In this example, imagining job loss might make you appreciate your current income, the skills you've developed, or even the joy of having work stability. This gratitude can pull your focus away from what might go wrong and center it on what's going right in this present moment. You don't need to reserve this practice for major fears or life-altering events either. It can be applied to small, everyday worries. For example, let's say you're anxious about being late to a meeting. Picture the worst-case scenario. Maybe you arrive 10 minutes late, explain the situation briefly, and focus on contributing meaningfully despite the delay. By visualizing it ahead of time, you strip away its power to overwhelm you in the moment. Suddenly, the outcome seems manageable, and it frees your mind to focus on what actually matters. So I want to ask you, what fear could you diminish by imagining it fully? Maybe it's a fear of failure, a fear of rejection, or a concern about a missed opportunity. Whatever it is, take a moment to think about how you might mentally rehearse it. What's the worst that could happen, and more importantly, how could you respond if it did? You might surprise yourself by realizing that the fear you've been carrying isn't as scary as it appears when faced head-on. The beauty of negative visualization is that it doesn't just help you prepare for life's unfairness, it also teaches you to cherish the present. Because when you reflect on the things you might lose, you start to see how precious they really are. You appreciate the people around you, the comforts you enjoy, and the opportunities you've been given. And at the same time, you build the mental toughness to face life's challenges with calm and courage. So the next time you find yourself worrying about the unknown, try this Stoic practice. You might find that not only does the fear diminish, but your gratitude and inner strength grow in its place. Life doesn't owe us fairness. It's a hard truth to swallow, but one that lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The idea that life should conform to our expectations, that things should go our way simply because we worked hard, showed kindness, or followed the rules is a recipe for frustration and resentment. Marcus Aurelius, writing nearly 2,000 years ago, put it bluntly: you must realize that the universe is change and life is opinion. What he meant is that the world operates as it does, indifferent to our personal desires and feelings of what we deserve. What disturbs us isn't the world itself, but our insistence that it should be different. Think about how often frustration arises because of unspoken expectations. Maybe you feel entitled to a promotion after years of hard work, only to see it go to someone else. Or perhaps you show kindness to a friend, expecting the same in return, only to feel let down when it doesn't happen. In these moments, it's not the event itself, the promotion or the friend's behavior, that causes your suffering. It's the belief that you were owed a particular outcome. This is where Stoicism offers a liberating perspective. By letting go of entitlement, you can free yourself from unnecessary pain and view life with clarity and acceptance. Let's take a simple example we've all experienced: waiting in line. Imagine you're at the airport, stuck in an endless security line, knowing you have a flight to catch. You look around, irritated, thinking, this shouldn't be happening, they should have more staff, I don't deserve to be delayed like this. That inner dialogue only adds to your stress. But take a step back. Did the airport promise you a perfectly smooth experience? Did the universe guarantee you'd never encounter delays? Of course not. The expectation that things should unfold in an ideal way was created in your own mind. And it's that expectation, not the line itself, that's fueling your frustration. Now imagine approaching the same situation with a Stoic mindset. You acknowledge that delays are part of life, that nothing about this moment is personal or unfair. It's simply asterisk is asterisk. This shift doesn't shorten the line, but it removes the emotional weight. Without the expectation that things should be different, you're free to use that time constructively. Maybe you catch up on reading, focus on your breath, or simply observe the people around you. By releasing the feeling of entitlement, you transform the experience from an ordeal into an opportunity. Letting go of entitlement isn't about lowering your standards or ignoring injustice. It's about recognizing the difference between what you can control, your actions, your thoughts, your attitude, and what you cannot, like the decisions of others or the randomness of life's events. When you stop expecting the universe to conform to your wishes, you create space to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally. This clarity allows you to make better decisions and approach challenges with patience and resilience. So, here's a question for you. What expectations of fairness could you release today? Is there a situation in your life where you've been holding onto the belief that you're owed something, a particular outcome, recognition, or behavior from others? Reflect on how that belief might be adding unnecessary tension or disappointment. What would change if you let go of that expectation and accepted the situation as it is? When you let go of entitlement, you're not giving up, you're gaining freedom. Freedom from anger, resentment, and the constant tug of war between the way things are and the way you think they should be. You open yourself to a sense of peace, grounded in the understanding that life unfolds according to its own nature, not according to our demands. And in that peace, you'll find the strength to face life's challenges with calm and clarity, no matter what comes your way. Picture the changing of the seasons. No matter how much we may wish for summer to last forever, autumn will inevitably arrive. The leaves will fall, the air will cool, and winter will come. We don't fight against this. Trying to hold back summer is as futile as trying to stop the sun from setting. Instead, we adjust. We pull out warmer clothes, prepare for the coming cold, and embrace the beauty of each season as it arrives. This is nature's rhythm, a cycle that unfolds as it must, completely indifferent to our preferences. And this simple truth contains one of the most profound lessons from Stoicism: the importance of living in harmony with nature. To the Stoics, living according to nature meant more than just appreciating the natural world. It was about understanding and aligning with the way life unfolds, both in the external world and within ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, often wrote about this in his personal reflections. He observed, "Nature works like a potter turning clay. It shapes and reshapes. Everything happens as part of this natural process." In other words, life moves forward in its own way, following its own patterns and rhythms, regardless of what we might want. Our task is not to resist this flow, but to align ourselves with it, to live in step with the reality of the world as it is, not as we imagine it should be. Think about your own life. Have you ever resisted a change that you knew deep down was inevitable? Maybe it was the end of a relationship, the transition into a new stage of life, or the need to step away from a career that no longer fulfilled you. Resistance often feels like trying to swim upstream, exhausting yourself as you fight against the current. But the Stoics teach us that peace comes not from resisting these natural changes, but from accepting them as part of life's unfolding. Just as the seasons change, so too do our lives, sometimes unpredictably, often in ways we wouldn't have chosen. By embracing these shifts, we free ourselves from frustration and open the door to growth. Take the example of aging. Many people fear and resist the process of growing older, wishing they could stay in their youth forever. But aging, just like the turning of the seasons, is part of nature's cycle. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Do not despise what is allotted to you. Nature brings you both growth and decay, and each serves its purpose." Instead of fighting against time, the Stoics invite us to see the gifts in each phase of life. Youth brings vitality and discovery, middle age brings wisdom and experience, old age brings reflection and the chance to savor the life you've lived. Each stage has its own role in the natural order, and by accepting this flow, we can live more fully in the present instead of clinging to the past. The same principle applies to career transitions, which can often feel like an upheaval. Losing a job or changing paths can be unsettling, but it's also an opportunity to align yourself with a new phase in life. What if that setback is nature's way of nudging you towards something that better suits who you're becoming? What if, instead of resisting the change, you leaned into it and trusted that it's just another part of the cycle? By stepping into this mindset, life begins to feel less like a series of random disruptions and more like a process of constant growth and renewal. So, here's a question for you. How can you better align with the natural flow of events in your life? Think about where you might be resisting the inevitable, holding on tightly to what's already past or trying to control what's beyond your reach. Could letting go of that resistance, accepting the change instead of fighting it, bring you a sense of calm or even open the door to new possibilities? Living according to nature isn't about giving up or resigning yourself to whatever happens. It's about understanding that life evolves, that challenges and changes are part of its design, and that by flowing with these currents, you find not only peace but purpose. After all, just as the seasons turn and the rivers flow, life will continue moving forward. The question is, will you move with it or struggle against it? Imagine you're driving home after a long day and someone abruptly cuts you off in traffic. In an instant, you feel a surge of anger, your heart races, your grip tightens on the steering wheel, and you might even mutter something under your breath or blast your horn. It feels unfair, disrespectful, and like a personal attack. But here's the thing, that emotional reaction, as automatic as it feels, doesn't actually solve anything. It doesn't change the fact that the car cut you off, and it certainly doesn't make you feel calmer. In fact, it might make you feel worse. Now let's rewind that scenario. You're cut off in traffic, but instead of reacting impulsively, you take a deep breath. You remind yourself that the other driver's behavior has nothing to do with you personally. Maybe they didn't see your car, or maybe they're rushing for reasons you'll never know. Using reason, you recognize that while the situation was frustrating, letting it ruin your mood only gives that driver more power over your day than they deserve. So you let it go, continue driving, and stay focused on what truly matters: getting home safely. This difference between the two reactions, the emotional and the rational, is at the core of what the Stoics teach about the role of reason. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." His words capture a powerful idea. Our emotions are not dictated by the events themselves, but by the thoughts and judgments we attach to those events. And the more we rely on reason to guide our responses, the freer we are from the grip of impulsive reactions that often make situations worse. So, how do we cultivate this ability to respond with reason instead of letting emotions take over? First, it starts with creating a pause. When something unfair happens, like being criticized unfairly or dealing with a rude stranger, our emotions tend to flare up immediately. But that initial reaction doesn't have to dictate what we do next. Something as simple as taking a deep breath can act as a reset button. It gives your rational mind a chance to step in and ask, what's really happening here? Is this worth my energy? Next, adopt a habit of questioning your assumptions. Let's go back to the traffic example. Your emotional mind might immediately assume, that person cut me off because they're selfish or disrespectful. But your rational mind can challenge that. Do I really know why they did that? Could they be dealing with an emergency or just made a mistake? By reframing the story you're telling yourself, you can often diffuse the emotional intensity of the situation. Another practical step is to focus on what you can control. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, advised us to concentrate on our own actions and attitudes rather than fixating on the behavior of others. In moments of unfairness, ask yourself, what's within my control right now? You can't control whether someone cuts you off or speaks rudely to you, but you can control how you respond. And by choosing reason over impulse, you preserve your inner peace and demonstrate emotional strength. Finally, consider the bigger picture. Will this situation matter tomorrow, next week, or even an hour from now? Often, the answer is no. By reminding yourself of the fleeting nature of most frustrations, reason helps you put the moment into perspective and move on without unnecessary stress. So, let me ask you, how can you use reason to guide your responses the next time something feels unfair? Whether it's a challenging situation at work, a problem in a relationship, or an everyday annoyance like traffic, practicing a reasoned response doesn't just help you stay calm, it also empowers you. It frees you from being controlled by your emotions and gives you the clarity to act in a way that aligns with your values. Remember, the unexpected will always happen, but how you respond is entirely up to you. What's more valuable, doing the right thing or winning the prize? It's a question that cuts to the heart of Stoic philosophy. In a world where success is often measured by external achievements, money, titles, recognition, the Stoics take a radically different stance. They teach us that true success doesn't come from what we gain or achieve, but from the kind of person we choose to be. For the Stoics, virtue qualities like wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice matters far more than any external outcome. Why? Because while outcomes are often beyond our control, our commitment to virtue is entirely up to us. Virtue, in their view, is its own reward. Now, let's unpack what this means in practice. Imagine a scenario where you're competing for a promotion at work. You've worked hard to earn it, but during the process, you're presented with an opportunity to undermine a colleague, a subtle way to tilt the odds in your favor. No one would ever know. It's tempting because the promotion represents success, validation, and perhaps even a better life. Many people would justify taking the shortcut, telling themselves, this is just the way the game is played. But a Stoic would approach this moment differently. They'd pause and ask, what kind of person do I want to be? Is winning worth compromising my integrity? For the Stoics, the answer is clear. Choosing honesty and fairness, even at the expense of losing the promotion, holds far greater value than any material prize. Why? Because integrity is something you'll carry with you long after the outcome of the promotion fades. Contrarily, if you compromised your values to win, you might gain the title but lose something far more important, your self-respect. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter. It's a reminder to focus on what is in your control, your actions and your character, not on what lies outside of it, like the final result. Let's consider another example, perhaps an even more relatable one, the choice to be kind in the face of hostility. Imagine someone wrongs you, perhaps they spread rumors about you or treat you unfairly. It would be easy to respond in kind, to stoop to their level and lash out. But the Stoics would challenge you to reflect. Would responding with cruelty truly make you feel better, or would it pull you further away from the virtues of kindness and justice? They'd encourage you to choose the path of virtue, not because it guarantees the other person will change or that fairness will eventually be restored, but because acting in alignment with your values gives you peace of mind and self-respect. This is why the Stoics believed that virtue is its own reward. While external outcomes are fleeting and uncertain, the strength of your character endures. Living virtuously gives you something that no amount of success, wealth, or recognition can provide, a deep sense of inner stability. When life feels unfair, it's easy to focus on what's been taken from you or what you've lost. But striving to act virtuously in those moments reminds you of what cannot be taken: your principles, your choices, and your integrity. So let me ask you, when life feels unfair, what virtues matter most to you? Is it courage to face difficulties with grace? Is it justice, ensuring that you treat others with fairness even when you aren't treated the same? Or perhaps it's self-control, resisting the pull of anger or frustration. Take a moment to reflect on the kind of person you want to be, no matter the circumstances. Because at the end of the day, external outcomes will come and go, but living a life aligned with your values, that's something truly priceless. Virtue, after all, isn't just an ideal, it's the foundation for a life well lived. We often think of Stoicism as a deeply personal philosophy, focused on the individual's ability to control their thoughts, emotions, and actions. And while that's certainly true, what's often overlooked is how much Stoicism emphasizes connection and community. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, constantly reminded himself and us that we are all part of a larger human family. He wrote, "We were born to work together, like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on them, these are obstructions." These words carry profound wisdom. They remind us that even when life feels overwhelmingly unfair, we are not as alone as we might think. When things go wrong, it's easy to retreat inward, to focus solely on our frustrations or disappointments. But Stoicism teaches that reaching outward toward others can provide a powerful antidote to personal struggle. Why? Because serving others shifts our focus from what feels wrong in our own lives to how we can make a positive impact in someone else's. This act of giving, whether it's offering support, showing kindness, or simply being present for someone, connects us to a larger purpose. It reminds us that our lives are woven into the lives of those around us. Let's say you're going through a tough time. Perhaps you're dealing with a setback that feels unfair, like being passed over for an opportunity or facing a personal loss. While it's natural to feel consumed by these emotions, one way to rise above them is to reach out and help others who might also be struggling. Volunteer your time for a cause you care about, check in on a friend who might be feeling isolated, or simply offer a small act of kindness to someone in need. In doing so, you'll find that your own struggles start to feel lighter. Why? Because acts of service remind us that life's difficulties are not unique to us. They're part of the shared human experience, and when we support others, we tap into resilience and gratitude that might have been hidden beneath the weight of our own challenges. This perspective is core to Marcus Aurelius's teachings. He recognized that people often act out of ignorance or pain, and that responding to them with kindness, even when they wrong us, is one of the most profound ways to honor our shared humanity. Imagine a colleague has been dismissive or critical toward you at work. Your initial reaction might be frustration or even anger. But what if you paused and considered what might be driving their behavior? What if, instead of responding in kind, you chose to show understanding or compassion? Marcus Aurelius would argue that this not only helps diffuse conflict, but also reinforces your connection to the greater whole, that we're all imperfect, struggling in our own ways. Treating others with kindness, even when they don't seem to deserve it, elevates both them and yourself. Stoicism also reminds us that perspective is one of the greatest gifts community offers. When you connect with others, you start to see your struggles in a new light. The single setback that felt so overwhelming might seem smaller when you see what others are facing. And this isn't about comparison, it's about empathy. By stepping into someone else's shoes, you gain a broader view of life's challenges and, in turn, find strength in your ability to contribute something meaningful, no matter how small. So let me ask you, how could serving others help you rise above your feelings of unfairness? What small act of kindness or connection could shift your focus today? Stoicism teaches us that we are not isolated islands weathering life's storms alone. We are connected hands, feet, eyes, working together as part of something much larger. And when we embrace this, when we reach out to support someone else, we don't just help them, we also help ourselves. By transcending our struggles through service, we create meaning, foster resilience, and remind ourselves of the shared journey we're all on. What if you focused on everything that's right in your life instead of everything that's wrong? It's a counterintuitive question, especially when life feels unfair. After all, when we're faced with setbacks or struggles, our natural instinct is to zero in on the problem. But what if that instinct is exactly what keeps us stuck? This is where gratitude comes in, not as some fluffy, feel-good practice, but as a powerful tool to reframe how we see the world. The Stoics, who are no strangers to hardship, often emphasize the importance of gratitude, not just as a fleeting emotion, but as a daily discipline that can fundamentally shift the way we view life. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, frequently wrote about appreciating the blessings that surround us. In one of his letters, he reminds us, nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart. What he's saying is that gratitude isn't just about noticing the good things when life is easy. It's about finding reasons to be thankful even when life feels difficult or unfair. Because no matter how challenging a situation might be, there's always something, however small, that remains good, steady, or uplifting. And when we choose to focus on those things, we begin to loosen the grip of negativity and create space for resilience and perspective. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine you've just experienced a major disappointment. Perhaps a project you worked tirelessly on didn't get the recognition you hoped for. It's easy to fall into a cycle of frustration, dwelling on how unfair the situation feels. But now, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what can I still be grateful for, even in this moment? Maybe it's the skills you developed while working on the project, or the people who supported you along the way, or even the simple fact that you had the opportunity to try. Practicing gratitude doesn't erase the disappointment, but it shifts your focus from what's missing to what's still present and meaningful. So how can you cultivate gratitude in your daily life, especially when things feel overwhelming? One powerful tool is journaling. At the end of each day, take just a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. These don't have to be grand or monumental. Sometimes the smallest things can make the biggest difference. Maybe it's a warm cup of coffee in the morning, a kind word from a friend, or even just having a roof over your head. Over time, this practice trains your mind to notice and appreciate the positive aspects of life, even on the hardest days. It builds a habit of looking for the good, which can become a source of strength when life feels unfair. Another practice is to express your gratitude openly. Whether it's thanking a colleague for their help, telling a loved one how much they mean to you, or simply pausing to appreciate the natural beauty around you, sharing your gratitude not only deepens your connection to others, but also reinforces your own sense of abundance. Gratitude is contagious. By spreading it, you create a ripple effect that uplifts not only your own mindset, but the people around you as well. Now, take a moment to reflect. How often do you take stock of the good things in your life, especially when times are tough? Think about the last time something felt unfair or disappointing. What would have changed if, instead of focusing solely on what went wrong, you instead asked yourself, what can I still be grateful for in this moment? How might that shift have helped you see the situation in a new light? Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending life is perfect, far from it. It's about anchoring yourself in what's good and unshakable, even when circumstances feel uncertain. And when you cultivate that mindset, when you shift your focus from what's missing to what's present, you'll find that life feels a little less heavy, a little less unfair, and a lot more meaningful. Right now, wherever you are, take a moment to pause. Close your eyes if you're comfortable and take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for a second and then slowly release it. Now do it again. As you breathe, shift your attention to the sensation of the air moving in and out of your body. Notice its coolness as you inhale and its warmth as you exhale. For just these few seconds, you're not thinking about the past, you're not worrying about the future. You're simply here in this moment, present with your breath. This is mindfulness in its simplest form, and it's one of the most powerful tools for finding peace amidst the chaos of life. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." In just a few words, he encapsulated a profound truth. The present moment is the only moment we truly have. The past is gone, we can't change it. The future hasn't yet arrived, we can't control it. But this moment right here, right now, is where we live, and it's where we have the power to shape our thoughts and actions. But how often do we allow ourselves to truly live in the present? When life feels unfair, our minds tend to spin in two directions, dwelling on the past with thoughts like, "Why did this happen to me?" Or leaping into the future with worries about what's next. This constant mental tug of war pulls us away from the one place where we can actually ease our suffering, the present. Mindfulness, the practice of anchoring yourself to the now, can help break this cycle and bring clarity and calm even in difficult moments. One practical way to cultivate mindfulness is through mindful walking. The next time you're outside, whether on your way to work, walking your dog, or just strolling through your neighborhood, try focusing on each step you take. Feel the ground beneath your feet, notice the rhythm of your movements, and pay attention to the sounds, smells, and sights around you. If your mind starts to wander to worries or frustrations, gently bring it back to your steps. Walking mindfully isn't about forcing your thoughts to disappear. It's about grounding yourself in the experience of moving through the world one step at a time. Another way to practice mindfulness is by giving your full attention to a single task. How often do we multitask, dividing our energy across various distractions? Whether you're washing dishes, eating a meal, or writing an email, try focusing solely on that activity. Notice the details, the feel of the water on your hands, the texture of your food, or the sound of your fingers on the keyboard. By directing your attention fully to what you're doing, you train your mind to stay present, letting go of the noise that often accompanies thoughts about what's fair or unfair. Now, let's reflect. How can staying present help you let go of worries about fairness? Think about a time when you were stuck replaying a situation in your head, maybe something that felt unjust or out of your control. How much of that mental energy was spent in the past trying to rewrite what had already happened? Or in the future, fearing outcomes that hadn't yet arrived? What if instead you chose to focus on the here and now? The sunlight streaming through your window, the cup of tea in your hands, or even just your steady breath. By staying present, you free yourself from being trapped in thoughts about what could or should have been. You reclaim your power to face life as it is, moment by moment. Mindfulness is not about ignoring life's challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing presence over rumination. It's about grounding yourself in this moment, breath by breath, step by step, and finding peace in the only place it can truly exist, the present. So the next time life feels unfair, take another moment to pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what is happening right now in this moment that I can focus on? You might just find that in staying present, the weight of unfairness begins to lift. Have you ever felt like your thoughts were swirling in every direction after a moment of unfairness? Maybe it was a harsh comment from someone you trusted, a setback you didn't deserve, or an opportunity that was taken from you. These experiences can leave us feeling overwhelmed, stuck in a loop of frustration and self-doubt. This is where self-reflection through journaling can be a transformative practice, not just for sorting through those emotions, but for gaining clarity, perspective, and even a sense of peace. The Stoics valued journaling as a way to process their thoughts and stay grounded, even amidst life's challenges. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, used journaling as a daily practice. His reflections, written for his own personal clarity and growth, were never intended to be published but have since become the timeless work we know as *Meditations*. In these writings, Marcus would often explore his frustrations, challenge his own assumptions, and remind himself to align his actions with Stoic principles. For him, journaling wasn't about perfection. It was about understanding himself better and responding to life's challenges with wisdom. So how can you use journaling to navigate moments of unfairness in your own life? Start by taking out a notebook or even just a piece of paper. Write down a recent experience that left you feeling wronged or frustrated. Be as honest as you can. This isn't about crafting a perfect narrative. It's about putting your thoughts on the page without judgment. As you describe the situation, pay attention to how it feels to get the thoughts out of your head and onto paper. Often, simply naming the emotions, whether it's anger, disappointment, or confusion, can begin to ease their intensity. Once you've laid out the experience, you can start to reflect on it through a Stoic lens. A great prompt to guide your journaling is, what about this situation is truly within my control? This question is central to Stoic philosophy because it redirects your focus away from what's external and uncontrollable, like the actions of others or the circumstances themselves, and toward what you can influence, such as your perspective, choices, and responses. For example, if you were treated unfairly at work, you can't go back and change what happened, but you can decide how you'll handle it moving forward. Journaling about this shift in focus can be empowering, helping you see a path forward even when the situation feels stuck. Another prompt to explore might be, what lessons can I take from this experience? This doesn't mean pretending the situation was ideal or ignoring your feelings. It's about finding something useful, no matter how small, that you can carry with you. Perhaps the situation showed you the importance of setting boundaries, or maybe it revealed a strength you didn't know you had. Writing about these moments can help transform a difficult experience into a source of growth and resilience. And finally, you might ask yourself, what advice would I give a friend going through this? This can create a bit of distance between you and the situation, allowing you to approach it with a calmer, more compassionate perspective. Sometimes it's easier to offer wisdom to others than it is to ourselves. Journaling can help bridge that gap. So, how might journaling help you gain clarity on the challenges you're facing? Think about a time when your emotions felt tangled, or when you couldn't quite figure out what to do next. How might putting those thoughts into words, not for anyone else, but just for yourself, help you untangle them? Writing gives you the space to slow down, reflect, and make sense of the chaos. It allows you to hold up your thoughts to the light, examine them, and decide how you want to move forward. Journaling doesn't solve all problems, but it can give you the clarity and focus you need to approach them with a stronger, calmer mindset. So the next time life feels unfair, consider picking up a pen. You might be surprised by the insights waiting for you when you take the time to write them down. Throughout history, some of the greatest teachers of resilience have been those who faced unimaginable challenges yet responded with wisdom, grace, and strength. The Stoic philosophers, people like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, lived lives filled with hardship, uncertainty, and difficulty. Yet, rather than succumbing to despair or bitterness, they used these struggles as opportunities to grow and to exemplify what it means to live with integrity. By studying their lives, we can find inspiration to face our own challenges with the same courage and composure. Take Seneca, for example. He was one of Rome's most prominent thinkers and statesmen, but his life was anything but smooth. At one point, he fell out of favor with the Emperor Caligula and narrowly avoided execution. Years later, he was falsely accused of an affair with the Empress and was exiled to an isolated island. For many, this exile would have been unbearable, a complete loss of status, freedom, and connection to the life they once knew. But Seneca didn't waste time mourning what he had lost. Instead, he used his exile as a time for deep reflection and philosophical writing, transforming what could have been a period of despair into one of self-discovery and growth. In his letters, he wrote about how misfortune reveals our inner strength, saying, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." By looking at how Seneca responded to misfortune, we see a powerful example of someone who refused to let external events define his spirit. His response teaches us that even in the darkest moments, we have the ability to choose how we react, to focus on what is within our control, and to use adversity as a stepping stone toward becoming stronger. Then there's Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor of Rome, who dealt with immense pressures, wars, betrayals, and personal loss. Despite governing during one of Rome's most turbulent periods, Marcus turned to his Stoic training to maintain his composure and clarity. His writings in Meditations, a personal journal he kept, never intended for publication, showcase his remarkable ability to accept life's hardships with humility and steadfastness. He constantly reminded himself not to be consumed by anger or frustration, but to act in service of the greater good. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength, he wrote. Marcus didn't just lead with these principles, he lived them. Even Epictetus, who was born into slavery and lived much of his life with physical limitations due to an injury, refused to be defined by his circumstances. Instead of viewing himself as a victim, he focused on mastering his own mind, famously stating, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." His teachings remind us that no matter how limited or powerless we may feel, we always have control over the choices we make in our inner world. What can we learn from these lives? These men weren't perfect, they were flawed, just like you and me. But their commitment to living with courage, wisdom, and integrity, even in the face of extreme hardship, is what makes their stories so powerful. They show us that resilience isn't about avoiding difficulties, but learning how to rise above them. And while you may not face exile or war, you will face struggles that test your patience, your willpower, and your character. The key is to ask yourself, how can I apply the same principles these Stoics lived by to my own challenges? The next time life feels overwhelming, think about the figures who inspire you. Maybe it's a philosopher, a mentor, or even someone close to you who has faced adversity with grace. Reflect on how they responded and consider how you can emulate their example in your own life. So, who inspires you to handle life's challenges with strength? And how might their wisdom guide you through whatever you're facing right now? The lessons are there, waiting for you to try them. Imagine you've spent weeks preparing for an important exam. You've stayed up late studying, worked through countless practice problems, and poured your energy into understanding the material. The day of the test arrives and you give it your all, but as you wait for the results, a familiar tension creeps in. Thoughts like, what if I fail? What will people think? Will all my effort have been for nothing? Take over, and before you know it, you're consumed by anxiety. This is where the Stoic practice of detachment comes in, a mindset that can free you from this unnecessary suffering. The Stoics teach us that while we should always strive to do our best, we must also detach ourselves from the outcomes. The philosopher Epictetus summed this up beautifully when he said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." In other words, focus entirely on what you can control: your effort, your preparation, your attitude, and let go of what you cannot, like the final grade, the opinions of others, or the way external circumstances might intervene. By detaching from the results, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster that often follows uncertainty, the stress of waiting, the fear of failure, or even the highs of success that can become addictive and unsustainable. Let's go back to the exam scenario. When you detach, you recognize that while the grade matters, it doesn't define you. You understand that your effort showing up, studying diligently, preparing as best you could, was your responsibility. But once the test is over, the outcome is no longer in your hands. Maybe the questions were unexpectedly tricky, or maybe the grading curve will shift. None of this is something you can control, and worrying about it only wastes precious energy. Detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring wisely, directing your focus to what you can influence, and letting go of the noise that you can't. This idea of detachment doesn't just apply to exams. Think about relationships. You can pour love, attention, and care into a friendship or romantic partnership, but you can't force someone to reciprocate in the way you expect. Or consider a project at work. You can commit yourself fully to doing excellent work, but you can't always control the outcome, whether your boss approves of it, whether it leads to a promotion, or whether external factors affected success. The Stoic approach is to give your best to the task at hand and then release your attachment to what happens next. This doesn't mean you stop striving for excellence. It means you stop letting outcomes dictate your peace of mind. Practicing detachment is a skill, and like any skill, it takes time. Start small. For example, the next time you set a goal, pair it with an intention. Let's say you're preparing for a presentation at work. Your goal might be, I want my team to love this presentation. That's fine, but it's outcome-focused and therefore largely out of your control. Instead, reframe it with an intention. I will give my best effort and communicate my ideas clearly. This intention shifts the focus to what you can control, your effort and clarity, and releases you from fixating on the team's reaction, which is beyond your influence. Another simple exercise is to ask yourself, what can I let go of to find more peace? Maybe it's the need for constant validation, or the fear of not being perfect, or the pressure to control how others perceive you. Write these things down and reflect on how holding onto them affects your well-being. Then, as you go about your day, remind yourself to loosen that grip. Just like unclenching a tense fist, you'll find a sense of relief when you stop trying to cling to what's outside your control. Detachment doesn't mean apathy, far from it. It's about channeling your energy into what truly matters, your actions, your decisions, and your character. So, what's one area in your life where you could let go of the outcome and focus more on the process? By practicing detachment, you'll find not only more peace of mind, but also a deeper sense of fulfillment, knowing you've done your best regardless of the results. What if you could reduce the shock of life's hardships by expecting them? Imagine walking into a storm fully prepared, with a raincoat, boots, and an umbrella versus being caught off guard and drenched to the bone. Life's challenges can feel a lot like storms. Some are small and pass quickly, while others can feel overwhelming and relentless. But what if, instead of hoping the skies will always stay clear, you prepared yourself for rain? This is the essence of the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum or the premeditation of evils. It's about taking time to anticipate challenges, not to dwell on them fearfully, but to face them with clarity, calm, and resilience. Seneca, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, taught about this practice in his writings. He encouraged individuals to mentally prepare for difficulties as a way to strengthen themselves against the unpredictable nature of life. He wrote, rehearse them in your mind, exile, torture, war, shipwreck. All the terms of our human lot should be before our eyes. Now, this might sound extreme. Why imagine such grim possibilities? But Seneca didn't mean we should live in constant dread. Instead, he was encouraging us to practice for adversity, just as athletes prepare for competition or musicians rehearse for performance. The idea is simple. If you've already accepted the possibility of hardship in your mind, it won't feel so overwhelming when it arrives. You'll be ready, steady, and capable of responding with strength. So, how can we bring premeditatio malorum into our daily lives in a practical way? One method is to take a few moments at the beginning of your day to think about potential obstacles you might encounter. For example, let's say you have a packed schedule, and there's a good chance something unexpected could disrupt your plans. Instead of assuming your day will go perfectly, you could acknowledge that a meeting might run late, that traffic could slow you down, or that a difficult conversation might arise. By picturing these scenarios in advance, you prepare your mind to handle them calmly. When one of these obstacles shows up, you're less likely to be thrown off balance because you've already considered how to respond. Another way to practice premeditatio malorum is to reflect on areas of your life that feel particularly uncertain. For example, if you're worried about a financial challenge, spend some time imagining what the worst-case scenario might look like, and then, more importantly, what steps you could take if it happened. Maybe you'd need to change your spending habits, reach out to a mentor for advice, or take on a side project to rebuild your finances. By exploring these possibilities beforehand, you prove to yourself that you're capable of adapting and overcoming no matter what happens. Here's the transformative power of this practice. It's not designed to make you fixate on negativity or assume the worst in every situation. Instead, it's about building mental strength. When you rehearse for life's challenges, you reduce the element of surprise and gain confidence in your ability to face adversity head-on. Just as a seasoned sailor isn't rattled by rough seas, you too can cultivate a steady mindset by preparing for what might come your way. Now think about this in the context of your own life. How might preparing for the worst actually make you stronger? Consider the last time you faced an unexpected challenge. Did the surprise of it leave you feeling overwhelmed? How might the situation have been different if you had anticipated the possibility and rehearsed your response in advance? By training your mind not just to hope for the best but to prepare for the worst, you create a resilience that no setback or hardship can easily shake. Life storms will come, that's a guarantee, but the Stoics remind us that we can prepare ourselves mentally, emotionally, and practically to weather those storms. And when we do, we find that even the toughest challenges become opportunities to grow, to prove our strength, and to navigate life's uncertainties with grace and courage. So take a moment today to practice premeditatio malorum . What challenges might you face, and how can you prepare to meet them with calm and clarity? Life, as we've seen, doesn't always play by our expectations. It throws curveballs, creates detours, and delivers moments that feel painfully unfair. But as we've explored today, Stoicism gives us tools to navigate these challenges with strength, clarity, and grace. Let's take a moment to recap the key principles we've discussed and how they can empower us to rise above life's unfairness. First, we talked about acceptance, the ability to acknowledge and embrace life as it is, not as we wish it to be. By letting go of unrealistic expectations and resisting the urge to control everything, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Acceptance isn't about giving up. It's about recognizing what's within our power and focusing on the things that truly matter. Next, we explored resilience, the ability to endure and grow through life's challenges. Resilience, as the Stoics taught, isn't a trait you're born with, it's a skill you cultivate. Through practices like reframing obstacles as opportunities and visualizing potential difficulties, we learn to face adversity head-on, coming out stronger on the other side. We also touched on the idea of focusing on virtue over fairness. Life doesn't always reward effort or guarantee outcomes, but as Stoics remind us, the measure of a meaningful life isn't what happens to us, it's how we act in response. When we choose to live with wisdom, courage, and integrity, we build a foundation for peace that can't be shaken by external circumstances. And finally, we looked at how detachment and mindfulness help us stay present and clear-headed. By releasing our grip on outcomes and anchoring ourselves in the present moment, we learn to handle even the most difficult situations with intention and calm. As you reflect on these principles, think about how they can apply to your own life. Which practice resonates most with you? Perhaps it's reframing obstacles as opportunities, letting go of what's outside your control, or focusing on your inner strength in moments of uncertainty. Whichever it may be, I encourage you to try it the next time life feels unfair. Write it down, keep it in mind, and see how it transforms your perspective. As we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a powerful quote from Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. These words remind us that while we may not be able to change what life throws our way, we always have the power to shape our response. And in that response lies our freedom, our resilience, and our peace. If today's video helped you see life's challenges in a new light, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which Stoic principle are you most excited to try? Share your reflections in the comments below. We'd love for this to be a space where we can learn and grow together. And of course, feel free to subscribe for more insights like these and to join our community of everyday Stoics. Thank you for spending your time here today, and remember, life may not always feel fair, but with the wisdom of Stoicism, you have the tools to meet it with strength, purpose, and grace. Until next time, take care and stay grounded.